Oh yeah. Should have worn my. Excellent. Excellent. Well, good morning, Queensland. It's a good day to, I think, be a Queenslander. We're here at Diagula National Park, and it's wonderful to be joined by Jonty Bush, who's the member for Cooper, local member in this area. We've also got Andrew Piccone from Pew Charitable Trust. We've got Hayley from the Queensland Conservation Council and Simone from the National Parks Association of Queensland. Of course, we know Queensland's natural environment is the envy of the world. We have the most biodiversity of any state in the country. We're home to the largest coral reef system, the oldest rainforest, spectacular outback Queensland, and we know this is why so many people travel across the world to visit this beautiful place that we all call home. Today, I'm really pleased to announce that Diagula National Park will be growing even more. We've purchased an additional 46 hectares of land to grow this national park. This national park is the closest large-scale national park to a capital city in Australia. We know so many people love to come here, both locals and tourists, and this means we can protect even more important habitat for particularly threatened and rare species like koalas. But of course, we know at this most recent budget we had a very significant announcement. In fact, Queensland has committed the largest amount of money in the state's history to the protected area estate. We want to grow that even more. We're doing that because of some of the people standing behind me who have advocated for this for some time now, and I'm very pleased that we've been able to deliver this $262 million injection to grow our estate, do the important work we need to make sure they're up to scratch for visitors to come and experience. But of course, including in that is additional money for management as well as capital works. We know that so many people across the world come to Queensland. The Olympics is going to shine a spotlight on all of the beautiful areas, our beautiful lifestyle here. So we want to make sure that we have something that the world can see. We know also that there's been some really wonderful figures when it comes to our tourism numbers for the upcoming school holidays. We've got over 34,000 camper nights expected in July. So if you're wanting to experience one of our national parks, make sure you get in quickly. It's really important that we protect these areas, the biodiversity that's within them. But we also know growing these protected area estates allows us to do even more to inject money into our local economy. National parks inject around $2 billion to our local economy every year. So making sure the experiences within them are fantastic makes it even better for those local restaurants, pubs, clubs, those hotels. So really, really important that we continue to see investment in this space. I might hand over to Jonty now, then some of the representatives here, and then do questions if that works.
Thanks, Minister. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Diagula. A lot of people are surprised to learn that this is actually still my electorate. I've got one of the most interesting electorates out there that stretches right into Suncorp Stadium and the Forex Brewery, right through here to what is such an unusual and ecologically significant national park. As the Minister has said, the Diagula National Park is the closest large-scale national park that we have in any capital city in Australia, so it absolutely is unique. And to hear that we have picked up through a private acquisition and can add to the hectares that are available here to support the threatened species is fantastic. A lot of people in my electorate obviously are very interested in what's going on in the protected species space, and this area does have a number of threatened and protected species, including, we know that there are koala habitats out here, and we're obviously wanting to make sure that we can continue, their longevity here in Queensland. So the protected area strategy is a fantastic, foundational piece to the work that we're doing in Queensland Government to protect our ecology and our environment. And I'm just so excited that us here at Diagula have a really large role to play in that. So I'm really feel excited about today's announcement and looking forward to seeing what more comes under the strategy for the rest of our term. Thank you.
G'day, Andrew Piccone from the Pew Charitable Trust. And just to underscore the Minister's statement before, this is one of the single largest budget commitments to expanding national parks in Australia across the states and territories. And $265 million, by our calculations, will see up to about 1 million hectares of new national park acquired over the next 4 years. And that's really important to protect a whole range of threatened species and underrepresented ecosystems found throughout Queensland, particularly in outback Queensland and areas that are yet to receive the full level of protection that other areas enjoy. I'll just hand over.
Hi, I'm Hayley from the Queensland Conservation Council. I just want to say it's amazing to see such incredible increase of investment in national parks in Queensland, and we're really looking forward to seeing that money go towards protecting new areas in Queensland, particularly given that Queensland has more plants and animal species than any other state or territory in Australia, but currently the least amount of area protected. So really looking forward to seeing an incredible increase in that to protect plants and animals that are currently underrepresented in our protected areas. Thanks.
Your first name, last name, just spell it for you.
Hayley Troop, Hayley Troop, Troupe.
Good morning, everybody. Simone Maynard from the National Parks Association, Queensland. Queensland holds 72% of Australia's birds and around 85% of mammals. So this announcement by the Minister and the Queensland Government is a great win for nature, for threatened species, and of course us people who depend on parks like this, but nature more broadly, for a whole range of benefits, whether it's maintaining our climate, clean air, clean water, or having recreational and tourism opportunities. So we at National Parks Association Queensland welcome the Minister's and the Government's contribution to our protected area estate. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Simone. And I should acknowledge the alliance who was formed with both conservation groups and the tourism sector to make a big push for this announcement. It was thanks to their advocacy that we were able to get this money up. And it's also what I've just announced is in addition to the $40 million that we've announced for threatened species and koalas, as well as our Cape York Tenure Resolution program. So there's a lot in this budget for the environment. Any questions?
The expansion of this particular park.
Yep.
Is it private property that's been acquired? How many? And can you just give us an account?
Yes. So it's private property that has been acquired, 46 hectares that will now be added to the estate. So there's a little bit of a process to make it a national park, but it will build onto what the existing national park is. It's an intact forest area that has very tall trees, really important for koala habitat and threatened species. So it's a really great acquisition.
Is that a collection of owners? Does it belong to one entity?
Just one owner, so one protected area owner.
So why is? Obviously, government's gone and sourced it, or is it something you had your own?
Yeah, we have our protected area team is constantly looking at where there are properties available. Obviously, we try and look at where we can build on an existing national park because that's really important for the species that are there, allowing us to have that sort of unbroken area of land. So this is one of a number that will be coming up soon, and this is separate to the $262 million that we've just announced. So there'll still be a lot of other acquisitions to come.
How much does this one cost you?
Oh, I'll have to triple check that one and get back to you if that's okay.
The protected area target's about 17%. Over what time frame are you trying to achieve that by? And are you on track at the moment? Do you feel you're on track?
Yeah, look, the 17% target is obviously a target that we continue to strive towards. It obviously depends how much a property costs compared to how long it will take us to get to that target. We continue to strive towards it. This is a really significant amount of money, though, for acquisitions. We also need to make sure that we get the best value for the dollar, and we need to make sure that we're protecting important ecosystems that are under threat. So there's a whole range of things that the department looks at when we're purchasing properties, and that's what it should be. We have a framework that we work towards, so we'll continue to do that in the future.
Over what time frame is the 17%?
There is no time frame at this stage. It's a target that we've set that we want to try and get to as quickly as possible, and this down payment allows us to get even closer to that than we've been able to in the past.
And how long do you think that could take?
It really depends on, again, how much those properties cost in terms of, how many hectares there are. We also need to weigh up. We could purchase a whole lot of hectares that don't have high conservation value, or sometimes we could prioritise a smaller amount that has really critical habitat for threatened species. All of those things are weighed up by the department.
Mount Warning, I appreciate it's in New South Wales, but
Yep.
there's some suggestion that it may be a restricted area due to sensitivities with Indigenous groups.
Yeah.
While it's obviously not in your jurisdiction, is that something Queenslanders should prepare themselves for? More areas identified as being culturally significant to traditional owners and restricted access, particularly within things like national parks?
Yeah, well, of course, it's really important that we listen to the views and aspirations of traditional owners. That's very much a focus of our government. We're continuing to grow our estate, so there are many places that people can visit, but we need to listen to the oldest living culture in the world. They have been the traditional custodians of this country for many, many years, and I think their views should be absolutely listened to.
So something like Mount Warning, you'd be happy for that to be off limits to the general public?
Look, ultimately it's a matter for the New South Wales government and the traditional owners there, but I think the traditional owners should be listened to.
Let's ask about another matter. The Coldrake review will be handed down this week. Does the government need to act swiftly on lobbying, in your opinion, or any recommendations that Professor Coldrake made?
Yeah, looking forward to seeing that report. Obviously, the Premier has previously said that we are more than happy to look at how we can strengthen some of those laws around lobbying here in Queensland. We already have what many would class as the strongest lobbying laws in the country, but, we need to make sure that they're fit for purpose. We're continuing to improve them, and that's what we'll do.
You sit around the Cabinet table. Would you advocate for swift action on this issue?
I'm always a big advocate for swift action. We want to make sure that we're delivering the laws that Queenslanders expect of us, and so I'm sure that's what we'll be doing.
Are you concerned that there's a negative perception around the way the government deals with lobbyists at the moment that's impacting the government?
Well, look, we have, as I said, the strongest lobbying laws in the country, and if we need to improve on some of those, we absolutely will. That's what the Premier has said. We continue to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure the public has faith in the work that we're doing. We wake up every day making sure we're delivering better services, good jobs, protecting our beautiful lifestyle. Those are the priorities of our government, and we'll continue to make sure we put the interests of Queenslanders first.
How often do you personally deal with lobbyists as a minister?
I very rarely. Very rarely.
Karen Williams, to this point, has resisted calls to step down. She's got to go, right?
Look, I think when you look at the fact that Karen Williams had a phone call with when you look at the fact that Karen Williams was on the phone to families who had lost a loved one to drink driving and then an hour later got in the car under the influence, that's pretty untenable. I absolutely understand why some of these victims' families are calling for the resignation of the particular mayor. I think it's, as I said, untenable for her to continue in that position given what has occurred.
That's ultimately a decision for her, though.
Yeah.
Are there other positions that she should perhaps have taken off her, particularly the spot on the 2032 board?
Ultimately, that will be a decision of that board, and I understand the collective mayors. I think that would be the right decision. As a Gold Coaster, I'd advocate for someone like Donna Gates to potentially replace her position, but ultimately that's a decision of those individuals whether they want Karen Williams to remain on that board.
She fessed up, though, apologised. Does she deserve a second chance?
Well, I think it's good that she has acknowledged at least that she shouldn't have driven under the influence. But, I think it's pretty untenable for a mayor to remain in that position, particularly given some of the horrible things that have happened to families in her own community that she said that she would advocate for. So, again, I think the position remains untenable.
So just if you were caught drink driving, parish report, you would step down from your role?
Well, I wouldn't do it in the first place.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.